Namaskar and welcome to Changemakers. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. This show tells inspiring stories of agents of change in our society. If children and youth are the future of the nation, then the single most important tool to shape the future is education. Our changemakers are playing transformative role in making sure that education reaches the last mile, the last student. They're bringing in cutting edge technologies like robotics, augmented reality. They're working at the grassroots to make sure that no student, no child misses the opportunity to get empowered through education. Let's take a closer look at the work that our changemakers do. Education is central to the idea of nation building. Our changemakers are pushing the boundaries of innovation and reach to take benefits of quality education to every child and learner. Our first changemaker, Doorstep School, is a voluntary organization working in Mumbai, Pune and adjoining areas for the education of the urban poor. It was co-founded in 1988 by Beena Lashkari and other social workers. A major activity of the center was visiting homes of dropout children, trying to determine the cause of their dropping out and trying to bring them back to school. One of the unique innovations devised by Doorstep School was to take learning to children who could not travel to school. School on Wheels was created to meet the needs of children on the streets. The bus has amenities of regular classroom. The bus now serves as classroom at multiple locations to spread the light of literacy among children. It has a small cubicle that serves as library. Children who have already attained some level of literacy are encouraged to read simple books in the library. Besides attending classes, children at Doorstep School are encouraged to participate in additional activities like art, music, competitions, exhibitions, educational visits, sports, and festivities. These activities give an added stimulation to children and an exposure that helps build their confidence and awareness. Our next changemaker, Humankind, a voluntary organization, deals in strengthening child rights. It provides necessary support to the learning process of underprivileged children. Children are educated in matters of health, hygiene, environment and sanitation. Humankind provides guidance for higher studies and vocational training to youth who have passed out of school, as also to adults of the community. Humankind works with the help of volunteers working on honorary basis. As children grow up into well-educated individuals, they return to support their institution. Founded in 2009 by Uttam Sharma, an engineer by training, Humankind began its journey with just 5 school children at a municipal school at Sabarmati, Ahmedabad. Humankind has tailor-made programs to impart holistic education to children. Akshar Chetna aims at providing education support to children from bastis. Swasthya Chetna is a mission to spread awareness among children and youth about general health and hygiene. Sanchay Chetna aims at making school students understand the importance of money and how to manage it. Humankind has set up vocational skill training center Saksham to make women self-sufficient and confident. Our third changemaker is Robot Guru Startup, a novel initiative that uses cutting-edge tech like robotics and augmented reality to further the cause of education. It is powered by HoloSuit Technologies, which is a world leader in full-body motion tracking skilling solutions. The company and technology are invented and patented by its founder Harsha Kikeri from Mysore. There are many features that are first of its kind in the world, affordable and now available in India. It is both hardware and software components. Robot Guru enables to virtualize skills for teaching in schools, universities, training institutes and for self-learning. It can virtualize the entire skills training modules into 3D interactive virtual reality and augmented reality modules. This capability enables both trainer and trainee to teach and learn virtually any number of times at their own space and pace using their mobile phones, computer and HoloSuite interfaces, either separately or together based on the kind of learning experience the user wants to experience. Once developed in 3D, these learning modules become a great asset which can be used by millions remotely. Those were some truly amazing inventions and initiatives. Let's now meet our change makers and learn more about their work and vision. Let me welcome Harshvardhan Kekari, founder, Robot Guru, Beena Lashkari, founder, Doorstep School, and Uttam Sharma, founder, Humankind. A warm welcome to you. We saw your inspiring story. Thank you very much for joining us in Changemakers. Looking at your stories, all three of you have shown unique commitment towards the cause of education in your respective work. First, we'd like to learn from you what drives you. How do you see education as a tool for change, tool for empowerment for youngsters? Beena ma'am, if I can start with you.
Yeah, I think so. Being 30 years into this field of education, I have myself seen the 3 decades, a 3-generation change in the education. Let me give you one example. Baba Saheb Ambedkar Nagar in Kafred, where we have started the program, there was most of the children from Banjara community who were the first generation learner, and they were working at the fishing industry. And when I started teaching them, I could see their children. Now, the children to whom I was teaching, their children are working in the bank, they are chartered accountant, they are a doctor. So I can tell you the education, what the education bring out the change, that is the only answer to all our social problems. It may be a child labor, it may be a child marriage, you name it, the education can bring out the change. And I myself has experienced and I've been put forward to you. So you can just say that it is something which is unbelievable that education can do it.
Right. Uttamji, what would you say your driving force, the commitment towards education, educating youngsters, young children that you've shown, what is your driving force?
Well, I feel that education imparts skills and knowledge to everyone, and it positively impacts to alleviate poverty. जिसकी वजह से मतलब the major problem is of poverty is because of lack of education. And अगर education, I'll speak in both the languages. एजुकेशन अगर बच्चों को मिलता है तो उनको एक अपना वजूद अलग से मिलता है. अदरवाइज उनको रिलेट किया जाता था कि भाई ये गरीब बच्चा है, लेकिन इफ इज एजुकेटेड, इफ गेटिंग एजुकेशन, देन उसको एक नया लुक अपना मिलता है, समाज के अंदर भी उसको वो इम्पोर्टेंस मिलती है, एक कॉन्फिडेंस बढ़ता है. इसलिए एजुकेशन बहुत जरूरी है. और हमने देखा है कि अगर एक बच्चा है, वन चाइल्ड स्टार्ट्स लर्निंग, तो उसके पीछे पीछे पूरी लाइन लगती है. आई जस्ट शेयर वन एग्जांपल विद यू. वी हैड ए गर्ल इन 8th grade जो पढ़ रही थी और बहुत अच्छा पढ़ रही थी. वी वांटेड हर टू जॉइन ए गुड स्कूल, बट उसके पेरेंट्स एग्री नहीं हो रहे थे. दे सेड कि नहीं, ये लड़की शादी करके चली जाएगी, मेरे 3 लड़कों को पढ़ा दीजिए. सो दैट वाज द इशू. लेकिन हमने उन्हें बहुत कन्विंस किया एंड इस लड़की को पढ़ाया. आज ये पोजीशन है कि दैट गर्ल इज इन 4th year ऑफ बीई कंप्यूटर इंजीनियरिंग, स्लम किड. लेकिन उसको देख के उसके तीनों भाई इंस्पायर हुए. वो 12th में था, एक बड़ा इसके बाद वाला, ही स्कोर्ड 85%. उसके बाद के 2 बच्चे 10th में थे, दे स्कोर्ड 89 and 90%. सो जोत से जोत जला के चलो, वो यहाँ सक्सेस होता है कि अगर आप एक बच्चे को भी इंस्पायर कर पाते हैं तो फिर पीछे पीछे फॉलो करने के लिए बहुत सारे बच्चे जुट जाते हैं. सो एजुकेशन इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, और इसके साथ में वैल्यूज बच्चों में आती है. तो एजुकेशन दैट्स व्हाई कि हर बच्चे को मिलना चाहिए, बेसिक राइट.
Harshvardhan, your startup has introduced transformative technologies in the field of education. But technology aside, your vision, your commitment to the field of education is inspiring. What made you focus your energies, your career in this field?
So it's actually very interesting. So I actually took a very logical approach, as they say, in terms of what is the biggest transformation which can happen. So this happened when I actually won one of the awards with the sustainable development efforts for connecting people. So I always believed that technology should actually help people connect with each other. And looking at the sustainable development goals, I realized that the fourth goal, which is education, is one goal which can potentially actually help us achieve all the other 17 goals. So I said, if we just focus on this one goal and make sure that every kid gets educated, then the amount of change that can happen in the income level, in the quality of life, in their ability to enjoy and give to others is going to exponentially increase. And one of the biggest things that I saw was in developed countries, there is a lot of existing resources which were available and a lot of really good teachers who were available. So I call it like the Xerox copy mode, right? Currently, the way education was happening was maybe somebody from MIT like is creating some framework, somebody from maybe IITs go there, get some of this information, and then that gets passed to second tier, third tier. But that model is like Xerox copy. So ultimately, by the time the teachers and the student in tier 3 were getting this education, it was very difficult for them to get the best quality education. Second problem was that they didn't have the infrastructure, and as a company of as a country with 1 billion people, we could not afford to have all these expensive things, right? That's when I thought, why not we use technology to solve both of these problems while we maintain the human connection? That was the inspiration, that using human intelligence combining with the artificial intelligence and technologies like augmented reality and virtual reality, we make it much easier for, first of all, teachers to develop, and then those teachers can now teach that almost this is a USB digital copy mode, right? Instead of Xerox copy, now whatever is there in the best of the universities, whether it's IIT, MIT, wherever, Stanford, the best of the education and the best of the educators themselves. That's why we call it robot guru, right? There is a guru and there is a robot, and we can kind of, in fact, I was teaching robots a lot using humans. Then I thought, if I can teach humans, why not teach humans using robots? So that's where all these ideas came, and like it fused together, and we were able to, I think, create something which is able to do something which was not possible before, right? See, always disruptive things happen when you are able to do something. For example, our vision is in the next 10 years, any person anywhere on earth should be able to learn any skill they want for less than 100 rupees per month.
I want to get now into the specifics of the work that you do, about your institution, about your inventions. Beena ma'am, I'll come to you. From when we talk about children from weaker sections, something that often comes up is that the schools are at a greater distance, so it's difficult for students to go to school. Now, you bring in an ingenious solution. You bring the schools to the doorstep of where children are. How did you come about this? And what were your observations in those initial days of your institution that made you create, for example, the fascinating learning bus that you have, where you take the students in the bus and they study it like a classroom?
Yeah. So actually speaking, the entire concept of doorstep school has started from the big challenge that children were not able to come to the school because the timings were not suitable. They were working. The school was very far, and in a city like Bombay and major city of India, there are a lot of crossing in the traffic. So 5-year-old child are not able to go by his own, 5 to 6 years old child, because the parents are at workplace and they cannot afford to keep the work out because they're daily wager. So this were the big issues which we had found, that most of the children could not go to the school because there was no one there to drop them. How the children will go to the school. So this is the thing what we have thought, and we in Bombay, we didn't had a much pre-primary program, very strong program. There was a Anganwadi and all this thing, but that was not running very well into the city area. So this was the really big issues. There was a big gap. We have to wait till the child become 8 and 9, and then he can go to the school by his own or with his sibling. So that was a thing which we thought that if children cannot go to the school, let's bring the school to the children. So that was the first answer to challenge which we have been come across. The second challenge what we had faced about the parents' resistance. Parents were not ready because they said, if at all my child will become literate, then he will not be helping me to earn, and he might not continue his work. So that was another challenge that we have to made aware that how the education can bring out the change in your life and your children's life.
Right.
But
So do you then act as a bridge, ma'am, between, if I may use the word, formal education and no access to education? So you're forming a bridge where you're helping such students avoid dropouts as well?
Yes. So what we are actually been ensuring, the very first step was ensuring the children to go to the school at the right time, right age. So we help the parents to put the children into formal school. After that, we support them after and before school, because see, finally, we don't want to create a parallel system. We want to strengthen the education system itself. So then we support them after and before school, these kids, through study class. But besides that, very big step which we have taken up, working with the government school. So we go and work with the government school where we help them, the children who are slow in learning, and we run the big reading program. What we have been come across, that once child has been learned, then he need to have a practice. And that is possible only through the reading. So we take up on a large way reading program, and that has really helped a lot of children to improve their language and vocabulary. Actually.
Right, ma'am. And each of us would have our memories of our classrooms. That would be special space for us. You converted buses into classrooms. What does it mean for the students whose doorsteps you go to, and how do they react? What is the relationship with this bus and the classroom?
School on Wheel, that's called School on Wheel. That was the concept was in mind in 1990 onwards, when we were working with the children on a street children and station children. There was a lot of children on a street, which we are saying the signal children, and children on a station. This is the story of 1990 when I was actually conducting classes, and that time I understood that children were not able to focus and they were not able to learn because there was a lot of disturbance on a street. And anytime the parents called, then child used to run away. Anything happens on a street, he's been disturbed and he'll get distracted. So at that particular time, I thought that there are so many mobile concept is there. Why not school? That was the very first thing which has come in my mind, that if I have my own bus, which I can take up wherever I find the children and I can teach them. And it was very clear that we will not keep the children in a bus. They will go back. So actually the bus is like going into different 4 locations, which is station. The children come in a bus, we teach them and they go back to the street, But this has really helped many more children, because education was not very common amongst these street children. And this is really helping it to them to go to the further study. So School on Wheel is actually become more like a emergency classroom, the classroom wherever we find the children are there. So we can start immediately.
Harshavardhan, if I can come to you, Robot Guru startup, when we look at the story, it tells us about robots who can learn as students, who can teach as gurus, and therefore the name Robot Guru. You left a very comfortable job in the US to come to India to revolutionize the manner in which learning takes place. From your motivation to the vision of how robots could be the agents of change, how did that happen?
So the robots, I was working for Bill Gates, and we were looking at actually building a robot for every need, right? And as these robots started learning, right? So as I had a small kid who was just born, he was like 2 years. And what I noticed was, if I taught him something, for example, to cross, how do I cross a particular barrier or anything, it was very similar to how I was actually teaching the robots, right? So I started teaching the robots and I started teaching the kids. Then I started noticing that robots, once they learn, the advantage of robots is they can actually now share this knowledge across the board, because they have something called the cloud, right? They have a cloud mind. For humans to actually kind of catch up, it is really difficult. So I said, why not we actually teach the robots and have the robots teach the humans? So it becomes something wherein, in fact, robots can also teach through the humans, right? So I had the Stanford professors come in, and even in Kaun Banega Crorepati, many of the audience came in the form of robots. and the consciousness was human, but the expression was through robots. So the idea here is that it's almost like we are becoming like a Brahma, right? We are creating a new form of consciousness, which can actually extend beyond our current presence. So you can think of it as, see, earliest days, people would store knowledge in books. I mean, even before that, it was verbally stored. Now the idea is, especially if you have an embodied AI, like a robot, kids naturally get attracted to it. And there is no special learning which needs to happen, right? Robot can act just like a real teacher. It can move around. It can look. In fact, now we have built India's tallest humanoid robot, which is 7.7 feet, which just got installed in one of the universities here.
Right.
And it is being used to inspire students. See, the most important thing is actually we don't need to teach at all. My philosophy is that teachers, all they need to do is we need to inspire the students. And once the students get inspired, they will learn anything they want.
And I'm thinking about access. I mean, a particular good teacher of a particular subject cannot be at all places at the same time, whereas robots and robots who are informed and ready to teach could go anywhere across the country, across the world.
The best part is they can also be teaching the teachers, right? The hardest part is, how do we actually upskill and reskill? See, we're so focused on the students. The biggest challenge is actually, like, if we don't upgrade the teachers, there is no way the students are going to become better, right? So the first thing we wanted to do was use robots to inspire the students as well as the teachers. In fact, we are running a lot of faculty development programs throughout India, going to every university, where the teachers themselves are so excited by seeing the robots. Forget the students, right?
Right.
So if the teachers are themselves excited, obviously the students will be excited. So that is the idea. And use the robot almost as a teaching assistant, right?
Harsh, we're talking about cutting edge technology, but in this platform, we're also talking about grassroots issues, about access to education, about children from weaker sections of society. It's a very interesting point that you mentioned earlier in the program about affordability, that this technology, as futuristic as it may sound, is still made affordable. Tell us a little more about that.
Absolutely. In fact, I'm very happy to inform you that already this technology is being deployed in tier 2, tier 3 cities like Mysore, Mangalore, and various other places in various universities. And this $100 rupees per month is not something that I'm pulling out of the air, right? It is very easily achievable because already we are kind of selling it at 500 rupees per month per subject, right? So it's very easy for us to be able to kind of get to a level wherein 100 rupees per year is easily achievable. And the more important thing is, already thousands of students and hundreds of faculty members have actually across India, right from Mumbai to Chennai to various other places, they have started adopting this, and the teachers are themselves so excited that once this thing gets created, right, it becomes a platform. Just like previously we had a whiteboard. Now we have created something called the holo projector, which can actually showcase everything in 3D. So imagine this is a patented technology that we have developed right here from India, which allows you to show anything in 3D and interact with it just using your body. And showing things in 3D expands the whole world naturally is in 3D, right? We can show scenarios, we can actually show so many content in 3D in an interactive fashion, in an immersive fashion, which will allow the students to understand things in the right context. Because the biggest challenge that we see, whether with the students or with the teachers, is they will not be able to understand. I'll give you a very simple example, right?
Yes.
Let's say you wanted to kind of explain like an apple, right? So you would say, oh, apple is, let's say we used only language. We said apple is like a round in shape, it is red in color. Somebody who may not have seen an apple may imagine that it is a tomato, because tomato is also red in shape, round in color. Now, imagine like so many such details which are there in 3D are going to be now easily accessible to the students.
Wow. Uttamji, if I can come to you. When we look at the story of humankind, we realize that it's quite one thing to see the plight of underprivileged children, try and help them, and quite another thing to build a sustainable institution, something that you've been able to do. Tell us about that. Tell us about your team, which is quite exceptional. You built an ecosystem of learners, people who learn, go out and come back to teach. Tell us about this institution that you've built.
Okay. See, there is a beautiful story. As I said, we face challenges of volunteers. We are not getting volunteers. So,
yes.
We told our students that, okay, we'll be supporting you financially to complete your education, but in turn, you'll have to devote your time. So they started devoting, but seeing them today, the 9th grade students have started volunteering at Humankind. But we face a lot of challenges while creating these volunteers also, because every now and then, every few days, we'll see the student going out of our hands. मतलब वो जो पुरानी उनकी बुरी आदतें थी उनमें वापस वो जा रहा है, लेकिन हमने वो कंटिन्यूस एफर्ट्स रखे, कंटिन्यूस परसुएड इन बच्चों को करते गए, तो आज ये करीबन 15 बच्चे ऐसे खड़े हो गए हैं जो वॉलंटियरिंग कर रहे हैं. लेकिन सबसे ब्यूटीफुल चीज ये है कि इन 15 में से engineers are 10, they are BE, automobile engineer BE, computer engineering, they are BE, electrical engineering, and they are now teaching the other kids. तो इससे और बहुत अच्छे इनके रिजल्ट्स बहुत अच्छे अब आने लगे हैं बाकी बच्चों के. तो आज हमें अब बाहर से इंटर्नशिप के लिए बहुत सारे लोग आते हैं, लेकिन हम उन पे डिपेंडेंट नहीं है. आज हमारे बच्चे खुद पढ़ के और दूसरे बच्चों को पढ़ा रहे. तो एक चेन है. हम चाहते थे कि हाँ, जिस स्लम में हम काम कर रहे हैं, वी फोकस ओनली ऑन दैट स्लम फॉर 14 years, और हम यही चाह रहे थे कि इस स्लम के बच्चे एक अच्छी वैल्यूज लेके निकले. और वो आज हो रहा है. एक छोटा सा एग्जांपल आपसे शेयर करना चाहूंगा कि एजुकेशन, मैंने जैसे कहा कि एजुकेशन इज नॉट ओनली इम्पोर्टेंट, द वैल्यूज आर वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. पुलवामा जब हुआ था उस टाइम पे माय किड्स, दे वर सिटिंग विद मी एंड वी वर डिस्कसिंग अबाउट दैट इंसिडेंट, एंड वन ऑफ द किड्स सेड, sir, why only others can support? We see a lot of people supporting the CRPF people. Why can't we do it? I said, what you want to do? He said, I can also donate 1 rupee. So can you send this 1 rupee to the CRPF? Oh, I said, this is a good idea. I asked them कि ठीक है, आप 15 दिन लीजिए, आप 1-1 रुपए इकट्ठा कीजिए और हम जाएंगे और देके आएंगे. You won't believe, they collected 11,000 rupees. तो ये जो एजुकेशन के अलावा जो वैल्यूज इन बच्चों में आज आ गई हैं, those are very important. एक बहुत अच्छा सिटीजन हमारे देश के लिए आगे जाके बन रहा है.
Right. On that note, Harshvardhan, Uttam, Beena ma'am, thank you very much for joining us in Changemakers and sharing your inspiring stories. Our best wishes to the work that you're doing to your respective teams. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you
very much.
Thank you very much.
And with that, we conclude this edition of Changemakers. We hope these stories inspire you to become agent of change wherever you are. Till we meet again. Namaskar.